Hey guys, this is John here in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Friday, November 22nd, 2024. And before we get into Tarzan number 18, we are going to look at the conflicted deck number 1. This is the Queen of Diamonds. I feel like we've done this one before. I think we've done a lot of queens and a lot of diamonds maybe. But this is the Queen of Diamonds card. And what it says is, this is an end of the world scenario, and your community is in a protected area, and a large gang in a caravan is approaching. But before they get to you, they have to pass through a choke point, and you can very easily ambush them and kill all of them at this choke point. But they are traveling with their women and children. So what do you do? I think I actually read this one before and decided not to do it, decided against doing it that day. Because the answer is pretty clear. You do what you have to do to protect your family and your people. But what can you do? So if you have to ambush someone, if you have to kill a man, it costs nothing to be polite. And what does that mean? Then give him a warning. You know, hey, this pass up here is mine. You know, the easy way is mine. The caravan can't come through this way. You could do that. You could put some kind of roadblock. There's a few things you could do. If it's that kind of a pass, you could easily blockade it. Blockade it. Then you don't have to murder anyone. Let them live on the top of the hill on the other side of the pass. At least until they can clear it. And then, you know, ambush them. There's a lot of options. There's always options. Today's Tarzan number 18, Tarzan Lord of the Jungle by Marvel Comics, written by David Kraft. I do believe this is still John Buscema, but I think he steps off with the next one. It's John Buscema and Klaus Janson. And then one after that, I think they kick Mr. Kraft off. So here we have, now this is the native who is not Tarzan, and this is interesting. This is the first time I've seen anyone in one of these 1970s comics with brown hair. I swear to God, it is the first time I have ever seen a character in any of these comics with caramel colored brown hair. Black hair is always colored blue. It's always colored blue. And so that's how you know that this is not Tarzan. Tarzan's hair is black. And black, so black it's colored blue. And here we get this guy, this savage warrior, and the queen being chased by the mercenaries and the mad Arab, because the mad Arab is determined to sacrifice this princess. He's going to kill her to whatever gods he believes in. And so they are shooting their guns, but the savage and the princess get onto the back of this pterodactyl. It's got some other name that's not a pterodactyl. And this is Pellucidar, which is the strangest name for a place. Pellucidar? But so they get onto the back of the pterodactyl. Now remember, all of this sky is not sky because this is the inside of the ball. The other one where I was saying they dove through the middle, it actually was one of those panels where Tarzan went down and came back up. And I guess he dove down and it was like diving down the inside of a bowl, you know? So he could almost go straight down if he was going down the side of it, almost. So anyhow, they get on the pterodactyl and the young savage gets shot and he dies. I don't think we ever even learned his name. And then below you get the pirates for one panel, and then you get the black savages who are riding the blue birds for one panel. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of power dynamic in this comic, Mr. Kraft. And in this comic, nothing gets resolved, things only get delayed. Now here we get some of the mad Arab. They are watching them fly away and they can't shoot them. And, oops. we finally get some Tarzan where he is meeting the pirates. The pirates of the Hollow Earth. They have a name for them. It's stupid. I don't remember what it was. But anyhow, this pirate gives Tarzan a golden coin and says, I'll pay you to work for me. And Tarzan says, I don't work for gold. I'm working for revenge. The pirate doesn't know what to make of that, but he's happy to have his help. Also, in this episode, I heard, I think it was John Malin, all pissed off about people calling comic books episodes. In this issue, I only saw 2 instances of zip tones, and they're both in the Mad Arab's hood, in his, like on the inside of his hood. So there's not a lot of it. But so look, this Tarzan bit, it's not even full pages. This is unusual for John Buscema to be cutting in the middle of a page. To cut a scene in the middle of a page is not something they do very often. To cut from one scene to another between panels. Usually you get a full page. It happens in the Conan books occasionally, but this is significant. So we go from Tarzan and the pirates to the Mad Arab over here. And not a lot is happening. Tarzan's making a deal to work with the pirates, but no one gets killed. There's a bit where he fights with them, but that's later. And there's also a bit where he fights for them, and they like fall in love with him. And so here's the Mad Arab. He is constantly bickering with the white soldiers, these white mercenaries, and he grabs one of them by the head when he talks back to him and holds him out over the side of the mountain, over the cliff, and makes the guy beg for his life. That's what these 2 pages are about. But because he doesn't kill him, it's wasted effort. It's wasted effort on the part of the artist. It's wasted effort on the part of the Mad Arab. It's wasted effort on the part of the white guy who begs for his life. It's wasted effort on the part of the story. We know the Mad Arab is a Mad Arab. We don't need to see him bully everyone for 2 pages. Actually, 3. How many pages? And the only thing that happens is this bullying and bickering that goes on. That's all that happens. So 4 panels here, 2/3 of this page, right? We get a little bit of Tarzan at the top, 2 out of 6, but 4 out of 6 are the Mad Arab talking smack back and forth. There's a little bit of exposition, but not much. It's mostly just this. He's bigger and tougher than these white guys. Now, we know because we're in the modern era, right? It's 2024. It's the modern year. We know that this is anti-white Jewish ritual humiliation of white people. That's what this is about. Back then, they didn't know that. Back then, he was just a big, scary Arab. And these white guys are just shitty white guys. But they're shitty white guys for a reason. They could have had good personalities. The other thing I wanted to point out, so I think the zip tone's coming up. I think this is it right here. This one and this one are both zip tone, and it's so dark you can't even see it on the camera, I'm sure. But the other thing I wanted to point out is how there's almost no backgrounds because they're inside of a sphere, and all the backgrounds would have to be forest. They would have to be mountainous, forested horizon. And they do show the sun soon. It's always noon. The time never changes inside the center of the earth. Here we get Tarzan on board the ship with the pirates, and they are chasing the Mad Arab. He wants revenge for enslaving everyone. And they get attacked by this giant lizard on the... It's basically a monitor lizard. It's a swimming monitor lizard. It's a giant dinosaur. I saw this thing, a monitor lizard, the other day where a woman somewhere in Indonesia or like India or something was feeding these turtles, and a monitor lizard came up and tried to bite one of the turtles' heads off, and he got back into his shell just in time. But here we have Tarzan, who looks a lot like Conan, on board the ship with the pirates, and their ship gets smashed. And now, let's remember that the ship gets smashed, right? It looks like it gets smashed. A lot of the pirates die. It would be kind of crazy that Iron Man becomes Doctor Doom. That's new. Tarzan attacks the lizard. Naturally. Of course he does. Of course he does. That's what he's here for. The mad Arab lets this craven mercenary live. But so what is that? That's 4 pages of an unrealized threat of just taunting and nothing advanced in the plot. In comics, you don't have a lot of time to waste on soap opera drama. This is soap opera where nothing advances and they just burn time. In a soap opera, you have to use every set for every minute you can possibly use it. I mean, if you're producing an hour or a half an hour, 5 days a week, that's a lot. They're producing 22 pages a month, 17 pages a month in the case of John Buscema. But it's every panel is a masterwork, so yeah, he gets a week off. Or 5 days. He gets a weekend and 3 days of the week off. If he's doing a page a day, which is still a lot. So, meanwhile, there was one of these the other day where I was reading it and I said to myself, meanwhile, and it was literally the next narration panel. It said meanwhile. But here we get a lot of nothing. Literally a lot of nothing. A lot of walking through the jungle and talking. And these guys are trying to figure out how to get to the princess who has flown away on a dinosaur. And what are they going to do about it? Meanwhile, literally meanwhile, Tarzan, still fighting the lizard, has stabbed out one eye and now climbs into its mouth and breaks its jaw. Unfortunately, breaking an animal's jaw doesn't kill it. It does in this, but in real life, all that does is put the animal into agony. You'd still have to use the knife and find the brain, sever the spinal cord, at the brain stem. You'd have to do something ruthless. You could have broken the neck. They could have written that, but it's very hard to write that from inside the lizard's mouth while you're underwater. Literally right here on the cover. I guess that's, it goes a long way having the interior artist also do the covers. It makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? This probably was one of those pinup pages that they said just use it for the cover. Like, I bet that was going to be a panel for the interior, and they're like, no. Use that for the cover. So here we get Tarzan. The pirates are happy to have him on their team, and that's the end of the episode. It's kind of weak, It's really kind of weak. Like I said, nothing happened. Nothing happened in this episode, kind of like nothing happened today. I got a lot done today. Oh, and they had a CG art auction. That was really cool to see. And I was working on my first page of Modern Savages, where the two brothers are throwing pine cones at each other. And I condensed my 7 panels into 6. So I had to create one that I had not drawn. And I had to condense 3 of the last ones into 1. But they were just like layers anyhow that I'd done on paper. It was the second and third ones that were the hardest. They had to become one panel, and I had to sort of shift the camera focus a little bit, and it worked out. It worked out. It's fun. I love doing it so much. And I love that I can see all the stuff that the pros, literally, even if they're just campaign, even if they're just crowd-funded campaign professionals, getting to be able to see these guys draw online and see what kind of strokes they're laying down, literally with, their brush strokes, that's pretty valuable. Inkers sometimes are much better artists than the pencilers. The pencilers are doing an entirely different job. They're creating an image in perspective, in a background. The inker is just giving it clean lines and texturing it. Not just, he's not tracing, but his job is to make the drawing really clean. The penciler's job is to create it. The penciler has to see it. He has to literally go in and set the actors, create the expressions on their faces, and that is not insignificant in a book like this. That's a lot of acting. It's the whole bit about about body language and tone and emphasis is really significant in this kind of work. John Buscema's all physical action, so it's not like there's a lot of... That's not true. I guess it's just the subject matter that's all physical action. You know what I mean? There's plenty of dialogue between Red Sonja and Conan, between Bellet and Conan. Maybe not so much in this particular issue, not episode. In this particular issue, maybe there's not a lot of dialogue. But that's a good thing, right? So, state of the world. I am trying to stay out of politics. I hate politics in general. I hated it as a kid. I hate it as an adult. I just want to be able to forget about it. Except right now it is race war politics. And white people do need to unite against it. It is literally everyone against us. And I know that sounds retarded. And I thought to myself, I did not want to talk about this today. So I'm going to leave it right there for today. And, of course, we need to do this. Legacy of a Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox, out here for you guys to check out my particular writing style. As a writer, this is not insignificant. I challenge any of you who are writers to look at my stories and tell me I don't know what I'm doing. But that would mean you'd have to look at it, which is, it's a big investment. It's a big investment. It's almost as big an investment to look at a comic book, to figure out what's going on. I talked about this earlier, how this is active entertainment in that you have to invest some energy. It's not passive entertainment. Like a movie or a TV show where you can literally just veg out and forget everything else that's going on. You still forget everything else that's going on. The better this is, the more you forget. So there's always that. But yeah, there was a while back where I was talking about chapters with these, and I think we left off about the time Project Epsilon exploded. And then Ashley retrieved the Micronics when it fell and landed at her feet. Her father was at a sort of like a congressional hearing, for lack of a better term, a government hearing about why Project Epsilon had failed and what sort of responsibility he was going to accept for it. And after that, everything goes really... That would be literally the inciting incident. You know what I mean? That would be the 30-minute mark in the old 80s movie. I saw a movie the other day, Armor, a Stallone movie, where 30 minutes in, with Jason Patrick, where he's an alcoholic, armored car driver with his son. And oh my God, the first 27, 30 minutes of that movie are so fucking boring. It's like it was made in 1982. It's the most paint by numbers nonsense. We've seen it all so much by now. Like they had two scenes of the Alcoholics Anonymous, 2 scenes of getting in the truck and going to work every day, conversations with the son, dinner with his wife, where the Jason Patric as the dad is like not a happy camper, and then they finally get attacked by Stallone and the other bad guys. It's like, you didn't need 30 minutes for that. You needed 3. The audience already knows. We already know all that. We already know all that. You have to remember, this is something I should talk about, and I should talk about more often. And this is part of the reason why I am so proud of this work, because everything you do as a writer and in a creative capacity is a reply to everything else that's come before. And if you are not well versed in what's come before, your reply will seem juvenile and elementary and basic. Basic is the best word for it. Now, this story is not basic, but this story is unnecessarily complex. And this issue, nothing happened in this issue. The plot was not advanced. Not remotely. You could throw away all the scenes in this issue and nothing, you would have to say nothing really happened. They didn't catch the black girl. The savage whose name we never learned died. Tarzan, who met pirates at the end of the last one, is still with the pirates after they fought a giant swimming lizard. You know, nothing happened. So if everything is a reply, then you have to, that is how other people are going to look at your work, whether you want to or not. And recognize that that's how you see other people's work, and then you'll know. That, look, doing this has gone a long way toward giving me some serious humility in terms of building my character. Because I recognize it's not about not being good. It's not about being teased for people who say it's not good work. It's how do you handle yourself when, and this is important, how do you handle yourself if this is the best work anyone's ever seen? How do you handle yourself if this is the lethal version of Harry Potter? Which is really not what I set out to do, but it is what I did. This is like the Conan the Barbarian version of Harry Potter. Although that's not fair, because Conan the Barbarian's version is neglect. You become Conan the Barbarian through neglect and just wild savagery while in a civilized world. The ability, the intelligence to be civilized, but still the innate, natural, savage instinct and response in a very dangerous world. Like today, Conan would kill people at the supermarket, whereas David Foster Wallace blows his brains out. It's a very different world. And look at Robert E. Howard, you know, what takes you out, be very careful what you let take you out. You know, I've been listening to Alan Watts lately. I find he's very soothing when my mind gets agitated. So, but he got beat by alcohol. Be very careful what you let, what you give your energy to. You only get one shot at this. See you tomorrow.